Time is a silent predator. It does not ask for permission. It moves forward, always advancing, consuming days, erasing hopes, dragging souls into the unknown. The hands of the clock stop for no one. Every tick on the dial is one step closer to the end of existence. Some live as if they were immortal, surrounded by luxury, drowning in fleeting pleasures, deaf to the whispers of eternity. They laugh, they scorn, they ignore the signs. Others, forgotten in the shadows, feel the weight of injustice, cry out for mercy, and wait for the balance to be restored. But what happens after? When the chest takes its last breath and the body turns cold, when the eyes close to this world and open to another. Today, I will tell the parable of the rich man and Lazarus in a way you've never heard before. Stay with me until the end. You will be surprised. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and let's begin. Silence does not bring answers, but those who have crossed the boundary between life and death, they know. And sometimes their laments can be heard, whispers carried by the night wind, cries that send chills down the spine, the wails of those who have seen, but can never return. Perhaps it's better to discover the truth now, before time demands its debt. If this story stirs something inside you, do not ignore the warning. Many live as if nothing will ever change, but perhaps someone close to you needs to hear this truth. Share it before darkness falls. The beginning. 2 men, 2 destinies. There was a majestic city, its golden towers gleaming under the relentless sun. The streets, paved with stones worn by time, echoed with the hurried footsteps of merchants and travelers. The scent of spices mixed with the sweat of laborers and the smoke of oil lamps flickering at dusk. Priests, draped in robes whitened by ritual purity, walked with solemn airs, while beggars shrank into the shadows, invisible to the eyes of the great metropolis. It was a city of grandeur, but also of abysses. And in it lived a rich man. His name was spoken among merchants and nobles with respect and admiration. His fingers, adorned with rings of gold and precious stones, slid over scrolls filled with calculations of immeasurable fortunes. His tunic, woven from the finest Tyrian purple, dyed with pigments extracted from thousands of rare mollusks, was a symbol of power reserved for kings and high priests. His palace, built with polished stones and cedar imported from Lebanon, stood as a monument to his greatness. Every night, opulence took form in lavish banquets. The aroma of roasted meat slithered through the grand corridors, mingling with the fragrance of caramelized dates and the exotic touch of spices from distant eastern caravans. Diligent servants filled goblets with aged wine, and the laughter of guests echoed through the halls, a melody of pleasure and carefreeness. Those gathered spoke of business, conquered lands, investments that multiplied their wealth. But they never spoke of what lay beyond. For beyond the iron gates, where the torchlight did not reach, there was darkness. There, among the wreckage of indifference, lay a forgotten man, Lazarus. His body was a battlefield between life and death. Open wounds scarred his parched skin, remnants of constant suffering. His bones protruded beneath filthy rags. His flesh served as a feast for flies, and his only relief came from stray dogs that licked his sores. To many, a sign of impurity. To him, the only gesture of compassion. He did not long for palaces. He did not covet robes of purple. He did not dream of goblets of wine or exotic spices. He only wished for crumbs, the forgotten scraps, the discarded remains that fell from the tables of abundance. But even those were denied him. The rich feasted. Lazarus withered. Laughter echoed inside the palace. Outside, silence hung like a sentence. How many times do we ignore those who cry out around us? How many times do we choose to look at our own achievements while others collapse, powerless, at our doorstep? Perhaps now is the moment to see beyond the walls we have built. Tell me, have you ever witnessed something like this? Have you ever seen someone forgotten, while others indulged in abundance? Comment below and share this truth. Someone needs to hear it. Death and judgment. Time is a relentless master. It does not bargain. It makes no concessions. It does not matter if a man is powerful or destitute, if he wears royal purple or rags soaked in sweat. Time marches forward without mercy, and one day it comes to an end. And so it was with Lazarus. His body, already consumed by hunger and disease, could not endure one more day beneath the weight of indifference. The cold of the night was his final embrace. His weary eyes closed, and then silence fell like a veil over his existence. For a moment everything stood still. No voice mourned his passing. No tear fell in his memory. But then something happened. A breeze cut through the deserted streets, unlike any other. The air seemed to vibrate with an unseen presence, and from the shadows emerged figures, luminous beings, their faces solemn, intense, almost terrifying. They had no visible wings, yet they hovered as if even gravity bowed before them, and they came for Lazarus. With an impossible gentleness, they lifted him from the dust and the pain, carrying him to a destiny his eyes had never dared to dream of. The one forgotten by men was remembered by the heavens. But as Lazarus departed, another man also faced his judgment. Inside the palace, amidst gold-embroidered tapestries and soft linen cushions, The rich man indulged in yet another night of excess. Wine dripped from his golden goblet, staining the Persian carpet beneath his feet. His laughter was loud, satisfied, the laughter of one who believes the days will never end. Then his chest tightened. The air, once so abundant, suddenly became scarce. His heart, once strong, faltered, slowed, and then stopped. Silence consumed the hall. The flames of the torches flickered for an instant, as if an unseen shadow passed through them. His hand slipped from the table, and the golden goblet fell. Wine spilled across the cold marble, flowing like a red river, like blood. But unlike Lazarus, no breeze blew. There was no light. No luminous being came for him, only darkness. A black veil, dense, heavy, consumed the place where he once was. Something, or someone, came for him. Something that did not belong to the light. Something he had never imagined in his days of glory and abundance. He wanted to scream, but his voice was no longer his own. We will all depart one day. The question is not if, but where. If this story made you think, do not ignore this call. Subscribe now and continue discovering truths few dare to tell. The final warning: time does not wait. It moves forward, relentless, indifferent to the desires of men. The clock of existence cannot be paused. Its gears turn without mercy. Every tick of the hand is one step less on the path of life. The rich man believed his wealth made him untouchable, that his feasts and his stone walls could keep him safe. But wealth does not buy time. Gold does not silence the call of eternity. Lazarus, on the other hand, seemed forgotten. By the world, yes, but not by God. The truth is, death is not an end. It is a door, and on the other side a destiny awaits each of us. And you? When the last grain of sand falls from the hourglass, where will you be? When the final beat of your heart echoes into silence, what will you find on the other side? Eternity cannot be avoided, but it can be chosen. If this story made you reflect, do not ignore this warning. Someone close to you needs to hear this before time runs out. Share it now. It might be their last chance.